Hello and welcome to Beyond the Noise, the podcast series from PRWeek. I'm John Harrington, the editor of PRWeek UK. I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Sarah Waddington, the newly appointed Chief Executive of the PRCA. Hello, Sarah. Thanks for joining us, and obviously congratulations on your new role. How are you? You having a good day?
I am, yes, thank you very much. And what am I, 3.5, 4 weeks in now to the new role? So really enjoying it. It's busy, but it's good. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here chatting to you, John.
Pleasure. Well, thanks again. I look forward to hearing all about it. So, to give a bit of background for our listeners, Sarah moved to the permanent CEO role this month after 6 months as interim CEO. It's followed the departure of former Chief Executive James Hughes at the end of 2024. Now, this has been an eventful few years for the PRCA. In 2022, the trade body faced some criticism from a number of industry figures about how it had operated in the past, with some agencies leaving the trade body. This coincided with a governance review being undertaken. There was the sad news in March 2023 that Francis Ingham, the long-standing Director General, had died. Later that year, members of the PRCA voted to adopt a new management and governance structure which aimed to simplify and strengthen governance, oversight, transparency and decision-making. So lots to talk about. But first, Sarah, could you briefly tell us about your pre-PRCA background, please, and how you landed the interim chief executive role initially?
Yeah, sure. So to kind of give a shortened version, because we don't want to be here all day, I've worked in PR comms and management consultancy for years now. So I'd run businesses for other bosses, including a network agency. I then went into launching my own agency, which started off as PR and marketing, and then we extended into management consultancy. And about that time, I decided that I wanted to do professional advisory work. So I ended up doing some qualifications through the Institute of Directors, which led to me becoming a chartered director, which supported the fact that I was already a chartered public relations practitioner. And when the PRCA was starting to have its very public challenges, there was a call out for new management board members. And I thought, you know what, I'd really be interested in doing that and helping. Trade associations are so vital to any sector, and the PRCA is very vital to ours. I just thought I'd really be interested in getting involved and getting my hands dirty and helping improve the situation for the PRCA and for its members. And I was duly elected to board. And it was really good because I could bring experience of membership bodies. You'll be aware that I was previously president of the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. So I was able to bring my knowledge of the industry, my understanding of business and organisations and governance to the table. And that's how I first became involved with the PRCA. I'd actually been kind of more of a bystander previously. We'd been members at Waddington, and I'd had some interaction with initiatives that we'd been running over the past few years, including Socially Mobile. But it hadn't been much more extensive than that, to be honest.
And in terms of the interim CEO role, as I mentioned, you sort of picked that up at the start of this year. What was the sort of background to that? Obviously, as I mentioned, James Hughes departed around that time. What were the kind of circumstances there?
Yeah, so what happened was James came into the role and was working as CEO. Towards the end of the year, autumn time, James actually went off sick, and I was asked by the management board whether I'd do a kind of pastoral role with the team, just because we wanted to make sure that they were shored up. You know, you've mentioned the difficult couple of years that we've had, and the team have done an excellent job in weathering the storm in terms of through Francis's illness and then his subsequent death, and then the governance review. And so we just wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable and confident. And so November and December, I was doing kind of light touch work with the team just to make sure that anything could be completed that was in play and that they were okay. And then James actually put his notice in. And at that point, the management board asked if I would be interested in an interim. So I have to say, this was not on the bingo card for this year at all. I wasn't expecting to do an interim role, let alone apply for the subsequent permanent role. But this is where we are. And I'm delighted to be here because it's a real privilege. And the team are fantastic. And as I said before, the purpose of the PRCA is, as I believe, critical to the health of this sector.
Absolutely. So it'd be good to get a bit of an idea about what the PRCA was like at the start of this year. I was looking through some of the PRCA's accounts, and Ray Waddington, the chair, in the accounts for 2023 said he expected 2024 to bring, quote, significantly improved financial results. This was after a small drop in profit and slowing of income in 2023. I know that the more recent results haven't been published yet, but could you tell us a bit about whether this was the case and how you would sort of describe the financial position of the PRCA when you came into it in the interim role?
It's a good question. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's been a really challenging market, and the PRCA, has had its financial challenges. Being frank, and it's public knowledge anyway, we had quite a bit of member churn, and I'm sure we'll come on to that over the past couple of years because of the different issues that we'd face, because of the issues with leadership, because of the governance changes. Of course, that has an impact. And it's not just that. When it's a challenging market, our members have financial pressures, and those constraints pass on to us. And if we're not delivering a strong member value proposition, it's understandable where people say, actually, sorry, I've got to focus on maintaining my headcount versus my subs. And so there were quite a few of those conversations going on. It was a lot about member value, and we're really dealing with that now. So it's quite an exciting time for us because we're back building a strong member community in a way that I think the organisation hasn't for quite some time.
Right. That's good to hear. I mean, could you give us a bit more details about what has happened to membership in recent years and maybe bring that up to, as you say, where it is now? And it sounds like things are more positive.
So through all the different challenges, we had a reasonable amount of member churn, and some of that was very public, which was difficult for us reputationally. So most people will be aware, and I know you reported about Ketchum leaving. We lost PR Network, Don't Cry Wolf, and they were all quite vocal about the reasons for that, which is fully understandable. We're glad to say that as of this year, I think we've managed to pretty much halt that member churn, and we're now looking to grow that member base. I'm thrilled that Ketchum's back in, PR Network back in. We've got John Brown back in, so Don't Cry Wolf is no more, but he does have another business called Build the Fearless, and their members. And we're gradually just building back out, and we're not just looking to agencies around London. We do have a concentricity around London, but we're pushing back out now into the regions and home nations too, which is great, as well as internationally. So it is a very different picture, but it's not to say that it's going to be an easy ride. We still have quite a lot of work to do, and we need to rebuild trust. That doesn't come overnight. It's fundamental to what we do, but I'm really pleased to say that the response to our new proposition that we've got has been overwhelmingly positive. And the big mission really internally within the team is we want people to feel FOMO if they're not part of our community now. It's a really nice way to approach it because we've got loads going on. It's really good vibes. We've got great people, great members, and that community is really starting to grow now. And that's my mission. That's my secret, not so secret mission. I want to really grow this community. So in a year's time, if we're having this conversation, I'm saying, yeah, we're well away now, and all that's way in the past.
Great. Sounds very positive. Could you give us some sort of numbers when it comes to membership, please? I mean, is there a sense of maybe what percentage or numbers it changed in 2024 and how that's kind of looking so far this year?
I haven't got percentages right in front of me. I can tell you that we're 2/3 more agency to 1/3 in-house, but we've got about it's about 175 agencies, I believe, and just under 100 in-house organisations. And then we have, I think there's 20 partner universities, and we're knocking on towards, I think it's 200 individual members. Individual members are very welcome, but our core audience is agencies and in-house teams.
Okay. I mean, I guess the big question is here, when you came in, did you have a view of how much change was really needed at the PRCA? Because obviously there has, in recent years, the last sort of 2 or 3 years, there's been a huge amount of change. Do you feel that most of the groundwork has been done and you just need to sort of push it forward? Or do you think there's more sort of fundamental work that needs to be done?
Oh, I think that's a really great question. And it's like a nuanced answer from me. I think in terms of the governance, that fantastic and much needed piece of work was done. And we're still learning because it's all been implemented this first time round. So all the different boards, and we're going through, like a lot of the processes are going through. So we're still learning from that and making tweaks. But that was definitely done and done extremely well. And I feel really confident within the organisation because of that. And then we have a really strong management board and support. And for example, we have the Independent Standards Committee now. And so that's fantastic. In terms of other change, I think the big area for me was just about drive, momentum, and vision. Because actually, fundamentally, when I went and did a deep dive within the organisation, we all know what its purpose is, and we'll come back onto that. But we have all the right assets. It just needed a rationalisation and a repackaging. And I think we just needed to believe in ourselves again. And you can't underestimate how important that is. I don't know if you've ever watched Ted Lasso. There's a little bit of that going on at the PRC at the moment. We've all got to just believe, because actually its purpose is fantastic. The team is fantastic. The assets that we have and the services that we offer are brilliant, and they're all there. there designed to help our members grow and succeed. We just needed to bring that to the fore again. And that was why I started the beginning of the year looking at the vision, mission and values document and making sure that we had 5 very clear objectives that would give us our kind of guiding mission. And we use those all the time for decision making.
Great. And what are those? Just remind us those 5.
Yeah, so we've got the 5, which are the first one, as you'd expect, is enhancing member value. That's got to be the thing. What we care about is, are we doing good for our members? Are they getting everything they need to succeed? Because if they succeed, we succeed, and the industry builds credibility. The second one is about promoting and upholding professionalism and ethics. That's the core of what we do. As you know, we've got 2 codes of conduct. They are so important. Every single member conversation I have, and I hadn't appreciated this actually before I got into this role, how important those codes are to people, particularly our public affairs colleagues who, use it as a mark of differentiation, which is brilliant. The third one is about being inclusive by default, and that's in its very widest sense about not just the PRCA, but our industry being a really welcoming home for everybody. And that work is led by our brilliant Race and Ethnicity Equity Board and the Equity and Inclusion Advisory Board. And then core one for me is about being an industry champion, and you'll see that leads pretty much everything we do and say these days, because this is about representation. And then the final one is about a fit for purpose PRCA, and that's about me getting the house in order. So on top of the governance review, making sure that we've got a really financially stable, lean and future focused organisation, because I think there's been an element of firefighting for so long, we'd stopped looking to the what's next, where are our members going, what should we be advising them on, and that's been a big shift. It's been a really big mindset shift for us, and it's starting to pay off, and I'm really excited about it.
Great. And obviously good to hear about the principles. Are there some sort of practical, might even be quite small changes that you could kind of point me towards that you sort of undertaken or started to undertake either in your interim sort of tenure or since?
Yeah, really happy to. So the big one is about how we're building out the member value proposition, and this is a piece of work, and we'll launch it in the not too distant future. Actually, we're just finalising a few things with our partners, and this is about 2 things: our positioning and how we work with our members to make sure that everybody succeeds. So fundamentally, I want everybody to remember that if you're investing in subs with the PRCA, you're basically investing in our industry, because you're enabling us, you're giving us a platform to go out and talk about our industry, why it's important, build its credibility, build trust in our service, and hopefully increase investment. And that's good for everybody, and it's that rising that tide slogan, in terms of let us do the talking for you on an international basis with government, with policymakers, with business, and we will represent you and with your best interest at heart. And so that's the fundamental big shift that I want. I've worked really hard with the team in terms of that's what we're now doing. This is not just about what products and services we offer. That's the big goal. And then it's about what do you actually drill down when you are a member, apart from that, knowing that we're going to represent you and you can be part of that rallying call to everybody outside our industry. And we've been looking at that very closely. And so we're moving to a much stronger account management system, so that when people join us, after a certain size, they're assigned an account manager. And we're looking to make sure that we marry everything we offer to people's strategic objectives. When people sign up, we're moving to more of an account management system. So I said the core audience for us are agencies and in-house teams, so they'll be of a certain size that they need particular support, and so we're going to make sure that they've got someone who checks in with them on a quarterly basis and make sure that we're delivering against whatever their strategic objectives might be. So that's industry representation. We'll make sure that they're covered by either being on one of our groups or committees, or getting involved with government consultations related to the sector, or helping input into our new membership with the CBI and the Trade Association Forum. If it's about, for example, alignment with management and operational excellence, they're very welcome to come and sign up to our communications management standard. If it's about insights monitoring and measurement, perhaps to have a discovery call with one of our partners like Karma. So it's just very much dependent on what people need, but that's what we're moving to. And I'm really confident, having we've road tested this off with some of our current membership, that this is going to work really, really well. And nobody will be able to say they haven't been able to drill down member value, because it's very much based on an organisational need at a given point of time and where they are in their growth cycle. So if they're looking for new business and procurement support, we've got that. We've got that through New BizFest, Matchmaker, our Pitch Forward work. If it's about differentiation, growth and succession planning, we'll be able to deliver that, because we're looking at a kind of growth support group who they can drill down expertise from. And of course, everybody can build reputation, because like you, we offer awards, blogs, podcasts, and there's so many opportunities to get involved now that I really would hope that people would want to do it because they enjoy it, not just because it's a corporate objective.
So you mentioned earlier on about the agencies that have come back to the PRCA. I mean, how important has it been to get those big agencies in particular back, especially Ketchum?
I think it's been fundamental actually to the sea change at the PRCA. Joanne Robertson at Ketchum coming back and being so vocal in her support has meant a lot actually. She's trusted, she's well respected, and I think her giving us the kind of, I don't want to say mark of approval, but demonstrating that she believes that we're now back in the place to deliver what the industry needs was a big moment, and I was delighted and grateful to her for that actually. And she's very much involved in terms of, we have the large agency forum, which is a relatively new development. We gather our largest members and talk about the future of the industry, big issues and opportunities facing us, and what the roadmap needs to be for the wider industry. It's not just about large agency issues. We look at what do we need to do as a trade association to bring everybody along with us, and they help us engage with the CBI in terms of any of the, for example, recent employment bill consultations that are in place. And like I say, she's been at the forefront of that, and also very insightful in terms of what we need to do in terms of AI in the industry. So yeah, I think getting those back fundamentally demonstrated to the wider sector that we're back and we're back in business, and it's worth spending a bit of time looking at membership if you're not doing that yet.
Okie doke. So does it mean that like all of the agencies that withdrew have now come back?
I would have to do a like for like. I haven't actually done a direct comparison, John, but obviously the key ones who were public and you certainly will have reported on are all back.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned public affairs earlier on. Obviously, the public affairs code has been looked at that the PRCA oversees. Is there any news on the updated public affairs code?
So that will go to members towards the end of August to be voted on at our AGM on the 11th of September. So we do have a revised code. The intention is that will be renamed the Code for Professional Lobbying. And those changes will be communicated at that point. But yes, it's coming around the corner very, very quickly.
Personally, I think it's very much right that people who are sitting peers shouldn't work for comms or public affairs agencies. But it's interesting to see that was something that, you personally presumably feel quite strongly about as well.
No, I think it's interesting. You'll know from my last decade in the different roles I've done that I'm very much about the reputation of this industry and how do we enhance our credibility and get taken seriously with business community and policymakers. And so the Code for Professional Lobbying is a core part of that. Obviously, we are led by our members. We went out, the consultation was open to everybody. And so we've taken into consideration what the sector and community generally feels is best for that. And that's what you'll see forthcoming when it comes out in the next month or so.
Brilliant. So I'd like to look sort of further afield now. I mean, PRCA for several years, for a period of sort of expanding its kind of global presence. At present, how many countries does PRCA have a presence in? And can we expect any more to open, or even the opposite? Is there going to be any closure perhaps in some countries? What are your plans for the sort of global situation?
It's another really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. We've got active membership and a physical presence in UK, Middle East and North Africa, Southeast Asia and Africa, some activity in Americas and Europe. But the plan there is it's the same as everywhere else. It's a rationalisation. So in the past, the approach has been a little piecemeal. So as a team and as a management board, we're doing a piece of work just to map out where we are, what we're doing. Is it adding value to members? As I said, everything is about where are we adding value or are we not? Is it working? And what that needs to look like in future. So that will be something that we carry out towards the second half of the year, and that'll be involving like I say, all the team, led by our international director, Mel Cannon, who's fantastic. I think without preempting the outcome of that, because obviously that piece of work is underway and not complete, and it's not my complete decision, but I believe that we'll probably review how we're operating in those areas. We need to see where we are. So, for example, in MENA, there's other strong trade associations on the ground, whether we push ahead in the same way, whether we try and partner. I do think we'll probably see more partnerships in future.
Okay, interesting. So it sounds like there is a decent chance that you might actually just withdraw a sort of presence in some other countries then.
I think it's just a case of we need to work out where we've got concentration of members, making sure that we're servicing them well, and there's also a decent growth opportunity. And if that's not the case, I do think it needs a review, and that's what the management board would expect. And so that's the piece of work that's going to be carried out. And I just think it's good business sense.
Yeah, fair enough. And do you have a sort of timescale of that sort of process?
We plan to have that. I'd really like to see that done by October, November time. So we have that piece of work and we have a plan going forward into 2026.
Okay, it'd be good to look at some other priorities then for you and for the PRCA over the coming months. AI, obviously we have to mention that. What is and what can the PRCA do to help the industry adjust to this crazy era of AI? What's your sort of approach to it?
It's madness, isn't it? I mean, I think I look back and I've sat on different boards, and 15 years ago, sometimes tech might not have even been on the risk register, let alone the opportunities list, and has just revolutionized our entire industry in multiple ways, and it continues to do so. AI is an interesting one. We've got a big survey out in the field for both agencies and in-house teams, looking at how people use it, what they expect to gain from it, whether they see it as a risk, how they're actually implementing it, what guardrails they've got in place. It's quite a meaty survey, and we intend to use that to produce a green paper, which will hopefully help the industry generally, not just members, look at what they should be doing safely and in a way that drives its adoption rather than it kind of driving us. And so we can also advise clients, because I think a lot of clients, I think some people would argue that there are some clients ahead of us who are already adopting stuff. We need to get into that driving seat so we're advising appropriately. So that's something that's coming down the line. We'd hope to have that published by now, because it's quite a big survey. Getting sign-ups for that, because we want a decent number for the data, and has taken longer than anticipated, but we're putting a bit more manpower behind that. And so hopefully, again, looking towards September, October, I'm hoping to have something we can publish at that point.
Great. Overall, you a kind of AI optimist or AI pessimist when it comes to this industry?
Difficult question. That's it. See, it's a funny old one, because I'm a technophobe. I watch from the sidelines a little bit in terms of, I'll get a team together who can be road testing the different options. But I'm one of those people who likes to wait until something that's a bit more developed comes out, where you can just adopt it and get on with it. I'm not one of those early adopters. But for me, I'm optimistic about it. I just think we've just got to be careful about it. It's fine if you're using paid software, but we've just got to be careful. And as long as the people are doing that, it's the testing. And the opportunities that it affords are brilliant. I'm not one of these people who says, oh, the industry is going to keel over because of AI. I'm a big believer that actually, if we move towards this strategic advisory role, which I've always believed we should be in, it's a higher paying role, it's a consultancy role, it's a management role. It makes sense that it just becomes a part of the suite of tools that we're using, and you can free people up to work in different ways. So we've both written about is AI the death of the account exec? I don't believe it is. I just think that exact account exec role will pivot into something different, and something that we all really need, which is perhaps business development or networking, or it's just a different type of thing entirely. So I find it exciting. I think there's a right to have caution about it, but ultimately I think industries evolve, and we need to do that too. And we've been a bit slow to do that in the past. I'm hoping this is the galvanizing force that will actually put us against management firms and legal firms and accountancy firms when it comes to business.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never seen a single issue just occupy so much sort of space in this industry's mindset, it seems, as AI. And I really think the debates are quite fierce, and people are very vociferous on sort of pessimists and optimists. It's really interesting to see that overall you are an optimist.
It depends whether you're going to be cynical about it. If you wanted to be opportunistic and you wanted to drop headcount, it's a great way of perhaps saying, oh, we've had to, we're using tech efficiencies. But I think overall, we'll find a way forward. We always do. We absolutely have to. And it's exciting here. I just think we'll look back and think, wow, that was a ride.
Yeah, no, I agree. On to another topic, DEI. I mean, obviously, this is something that's very close to your heart and something that you've been actively involved in for a lot of your career with Socially Mobile, the organisation you've been involved in and so on. I mean, in terms of your current role, how do you plan to push the DEI agenda in the sector?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm really delighted that we've got, I mentioned them before, the Equity Inclusion Advisory Board, EIAB, and we've got REEB as well, who are both really keeping us very accountable in the work that we do. And their work is front and foremost of everything we do. So, for example, this is a lot of the work is about representation and having diverse workforce and people in senior roles. And everything we do, we make sure that they're involved with. So, if you look at our forthcoming conference in September, they've been involved with making sure that we have diverse voices, that the actual content itself has diversity in terms of the thinking behind that. EIAB are also out at the moment gathering data. They've got a survey out and are doing some one-to-one interviews because they'll be updating our inclusion framework, and they're also working on the development of some industry best practice guidelines, and that's really, really important. And we'll be adopting those too. I think it's really important that we lead from the front, and as part of that, we'll also be, and we haven't done this before, we'll be doing our own communications management standards. So it's something that we offer to professionalise operations and in-house teams and agencies. The PRCA to date hasn't done that, but that's also a really important part of us getting our house in order. And that means we're going to be much more open about our pay gaps and all those good things that we should be auditing and publishing. So that's really important.
Yeah. Could you tell us a bit more about that? Communication management standards, that be effectively, you'd be asking agencies to do things like disclose pay gaps and...
Yeah, so that the communications management standard is a really brilliant part of our offer, and we have a dedicated team who manage that. And if you achieve a CMS standard, you get to become part of our matchmaker offer, which is also where we can match you with anybody who's looking for an accredited agency. So it kind of, there's a huge benefit to it. There is a small cost to it, but it's well worth doing. And it's about professionalizing every part of the operation. It's a bit like an ISO accreditation, but for our sector.
Okay. One topic that sort of never really goes away is the client agency relationship. And the PRCA has been involved in, I don't know the right word, refereeing, mitigating, sort of, trying to help the process over the years. What's your take on the client agency relationship? Do you think it's getting better, getting worse, staying around the same?
It's generally in a good place. Well, when I've gone to a lot of our events, I've spent quite a lot of time touring the country, particularly trying to get to our different groups. And you get a real good mix of agencies and in-house people at those events. We do leaders' lunches, we've done a benchmarking roadshow, we've done matchmaker events. And maybe it's just the caliber of people there, but they tend to work really, really well. I think one of the pieces of work that has really helped broker better understanding is Pitch Forward. So that was a big piece of work that's been done in collaboration with membership and the industry, just trying to understand the frustrations that come around the pitching process. And again, I know you've reported on this loads because there's some shocking behaviour out there, from ghosting just through to stealing ideas, through to, well, you've reported on them ad infinitum, but Pitch Forward is our lovely piece of work which has involved both in-house and agency teams to look at what the issues are both sides, because actually in-house people have their own frustrations too. They're not in control often of procurement and they want to see better practice, and that has really, really helped. I'm kind of hopeful about that. It's about, for us now we've got Pitch Forward, is about developing that further, but making sure it's in the right hands, because it's only powerful when we do get it in front of procurement people, which we're doing very much in terms of working with different procurement bodies, but also getting it in front of the business community. We're also working with CIPR on that because they're interested in it. They want to see that best practice, and it's lovely to see that Alistair came to me, the CEO at the CIPR, and said, we'd like to get behind this, would you come and present to us? And we're now looking at how we can get it, they can help share the information too.
Great, sounds good. So just a few other things, I suppose. It'd be good to know about the PRCA itself as an organisation. Has the sort of headcount changed recently? Have there been any particularly new roles or roles that have left at the body in recent times?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I had to do, I mean, I've talked about rationalization in every way, and we've had to do that. We talked about the financial position and looking at costs. Part of that was the restructure. Part of that was being, making sure that we were adhering to our strategic objective of being a fit, lean, stable operation. And so we did have to reduce headcount somewhat. And yeah, so we're now down to just under 30 core team. That's including international team across EMENA and APAC and international. And then we do have regional managers, and we've got 6 of them who work across the regions and home nations, but they do 1 day a week, so it's quite a limited role. So we are quite a lean operation for what we do. And we were looking to actually straight off, hot off the press, John, we were going to replace the director of membership and engagement, and we've actually decided to pause that for now, just to keep the ship the same size and just to maintain that financial stability.
Okay, well, thank you for the update. And obviously, it's always a difficult time when it comes to losing staff and so on. I mean, could you give us a bit of an idea about how big the team was before the cuts, I suppose?
It wasn't massively bigger. We had 4 roles that were made redundant
Yeah.
earlier this year.
Okay. And a few other things. How close is PRCA working with ECO these days? Is that still very much part of the same umbrella? For those who don't know, ECO is the International Communications Consultancy Organisation. It's an umbrella body for PR trade associations.
Yeah, we're working much more closely with ECO than we have done in recent years. We've had a real reset there, and we're their biggest member. So we renewed our membership of ECO at the start of the year. And we're looking at how we can better work together in terms of what does the ecosystem look like. Because I think there's space for us all, and this is about how do we raise the credibility of our industry on the global basis, and that's our big ambition, and that's certainly what we talked about at the last board meeting. And we worked with them quite closely when we went to Cannes recently, and that was really great to see in terms of just pooling resources and making sure that we're getting the right people together to talk about what the future holds, and that was really quite exciting.
And what is the cost involved in joining the PRCA now?
The answer is it depends. It depends on the size of the organisation. It depends on the size of the in-house team and the agency. But fundamentally, we work on fee income. So, if your fee income is 50,000 to about 99, you're looking at fees of about 2.5 grand. And then it goes upwards as you'd expect accordingly.
Yeah. What's the sort of feedback you're getting on fees?
It's been a difficult couple of years. I mean, like to go full circle with the conversation, our health is dependent on the health of the industry, but also how well we're delivering member value. And it's not been dead straightforward. And so we have had members say, look, we're struggling a little bit. We might have to pause, or we want to be members because we want to be part of the community and we believe in the aims of the trade association, but we're struggling right now. And we always try and do what we can. If it's a case of a pause, and then we review and actually we then really align what we're offering them to get them to where they need to be. Now, because of the work that we've been doing and road testing on the member value proposition, it's different again. I think when we weren't providing the best service for the fees, I completely understand having to have those difficult conversations and them saying, you know what, it's a case of we either deliver this within our organisation or we pay you, we can't sustain this. But it's different now. And with the large agency forum, I think that's really helped with the bigger agencies. I have to say that they shoulder a lot of the burden when it comes to the fees, but now we can give them back an awful lot more than we were doing. And I'm really, really pleased about that. And like I say, with all the work that we've been doing, my big ambition is that this time next year, nobody has a query about value. They're just delighted to be involved because we're fitting around the needs of their business. And that's the big objective. And that's the bit where we've all got the bit between our teeth and we're delighted to be getting on with, because fundamentally the core team that I've got have been there through thick and thin because they believe in what we're doing, they believe in the industry, and they love their work and they really enjoy supporting members. And now we're back to doing that. That's the core mission, and we're going for it.
Yeah, and could you give us an idea about how many agencies or in-house teams have sort of paused or asked questions about their membership without wishing to dwell on the negative?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I just asked the membership team, but fundamentally, when you're sending out an invoice, I do expect some scrutiny on that anyway. Every single organisation right now is rightly looking at their costs and they want to know what they're getting for those costs. It doesn't matter whether it's a trade association subscription or whether it's their leafy bill. It's right to go down that list, and that's what I'd be expecting. That's what I used to advise when I was in in a professional advisory role. The point is now that I don't expect that going forward, because I'm hoping, that this industry is on an upwards curve. The trade association is on an upwards curve. And I know that what we're delivering is what our members need. And that's what we're focused on.
Great. I wanted to ask news this week about the new chair, Kirsty Layton, founder of Milk and Honey PR, for people who don't know, joining in September as chair, replacing Ray Eglinton. It'd be good to talk about Kirsty. How do you feel about having Kirsty on board?
I'm delighted, and I just hope the industry's braced, because I don't know if everybody knows that Kirsty is also a native Northeasterner. So you've got two Geordies at the helm, which means a lot of forward momentum and energy, and a very strong scrutiny on, like I say, that member value piece. But, Ray has been fantastic. I have really enjoyed being on the management board before this role with Ray as chair. He's really solid, really experienced, very forward focused. And have felt very supported, particularly in that interim role and now in my permanent. But to have Kirsty coming in as well is also quite exciting, in terms of feeling very secure that we'll be able to maintain that momentum. We're very like-minded, and she's just superb. She's a B Corp. Her focus on best practice and governance is excellent. And so we're really on the straight and narrow now, and I'm more than anything just excited for the next 6 to 12 months. And, that's been quite a journey already.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a good place to leave it. And we are running out of time. So thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us and being candid about the situation. And, I wish you all the best for the rest of the summer and beyond.
Thanks so much, John.
Thank you again. And pleasure. Thanks to everyone for listening too. And until next time, goodbye.